Good evening, Internet. My name's Michael and I'm here to review some stuff for you. Today we're going to take a look at a very interesting action movie from the 70s with death machines. Now, if you've never seen this movie before, let me read the back so you can get a general idea. An underworld kingpin gives a mind control drug to three of the best martial artists in the field, turning them into the deadliest group of assassins in the world. As a test of their proficiency, he has them take out two other assassins working for an international businessman and playboy, Mr. Gioretti. With his hitmen dead, Mr. G hires the three super killers to replace the ones he lost. Their first job is at a martial arts academy, which they destroy with near total efficiency. Only one man, Steve, manages to escape and swears vengeance upon the killers. The police haven't a clue, but Steve won't be denied. Unfortunately, his biggest obstacle will be the target, the indestructible death machines. So yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea of what this movie's about. It's a very cheesy 70s action movie that doesn't really fit into any one real specific genre. It kind of jumps all over the place. The movie starts out with you have your three main assassins. There's a white guy, a black guy, and an Asian guy. And they are the death machines. They're not actually ever called that in the movie, but that's what they are. They are mind-controlled super martial artists that this Asian lady has used mind-control drugs on, and she gives them orders. And she also has a boss who's only seen once. It's this guy in the shadows, and he seems to be behind a larger organization that he wants to use the death machines with. And he decides he wants to test them out by having them start taking over, basically taking out the mob, actually. And then it goes to the mob guy. The mob guy has wanted a couple dudes killed, and he sends an assassin to do it. That assassin's killed by the death machines. And then he sends another assassin. That assassin's killed by the death machines. And then the guy who was in charge of the assassin is also killed by the death machines. And then right after that, the Asian lady gets a whole contact with him and says if he wants anybody contract killed, he has to go through them. And so he does, and they start by taking out the karate studio. They take out the people in the karate studio, but they leave the one guy behind, Steve, as it said on the back of the box. They end up chopping off his hand, and Steve goes to the hospital. And then the cops are like, then it turns into sort of an almost buddy cop movie as you get the two police detectives show up who start investigating the crime. They even have a captain who's by the book and doesn't really want them on the case and wants them to take, like, they call it human relations courses. So like political correctness courses, I guess. And there's another team of police detectives that wants to take the case from them. So it's got some police tropes with that, or some common tropes in buddy cop movies. They're even thrown off the case at one point. But anyway, they go to the hospital to talk to Steve, and Steve swears he's going to get revenge. Which, spoilers, he doesn't. Steve actually is really, really pathetic in this movie. He's kind of sort of supposed to be the main hero, but he's not a hero. He's just an angry, embittered man who had his arm cut off. Anyway, the death machines show up to kill him in the hospital, but they're faked out by the cops, and the white guy gets captured, and so he's in the police station, and the buddy cops get taken off the case. And then the police captain's like tells the other cops to go interrogate the guy. So they try interrogating him, but he manages to break out. And in one of the best action scenes in the movie, he breaks out of the police station and escapes single-handedly, which was actually pretty cool. He gets out of the police station, and then he ends up in this diner where he calls his buddies to come pick him up. And while he's waiting, this old man who's very Christian and very, I guess he tries to like convert the guy. He says like he gives him some free food and gives him some pamphlets, and the dude just kind of ignores him. But he's eating the free food, and then these bikers show up, and the bikers are being dicks, and they get into a fight and they beat up the white death machine by like hitting him over the head with like a bar stool, and he gets knocked down. But then the other two death machines show up, and of course they kick all their butt, and then they leave. And then it turns into sort of a love story for a little while. There's this nurse who was with Steve, our main hero. Anyway, there was she's with Steve, and just to show how pathetic he is, he's in a bar. He works in a bar, and he gets knocked out by this old sailor guy in a bar fight. And then they do some love stuff, and then she suggests he gets away for a while to get out of the town and stuff. So Steve and the girl go on vacation, but while they're going on vacation, they happen to run across the Death Machines, who are in a car driving to meet the mob boss to get the money. And so Steve tells her to call the cops, and he follows them. And that's all he really does. He just follows them. He gets there. The mob boss meets up, pays off the Death Machines, and he's about to fly off in his plane when they blow up his plane with a rocket launcher. Which actually isn't even the first time they use a rocket launcher, but I'll get into that later in the review. So anyway, then they go back to their house, and Steve follows them. And throughout this entire movie, the Asian lady has been very dismissive of the Death Machines. And the Death Machines, they don't talk in the entire movie. They yell some karate chop stuff, but they never ever talk. And they are very disdainful of the people they're working for, especially the woman. And in the end, she decides that they need to be taken out. So she sends her main henchman guy to go kill them, which of course he fails. And then Steve decides to go inside the building, because he's an idiot. Because he followed him all the way there. He goes inside the building, and then the Asian lady attacks him with a samurai sword. And which, just to show how more pathetic he is, he almost dies from that until the cops show up and kill her. And then the cops check out the room, and they kind of, you thought the henchmen maybe killed the Death Machines, but then they show they didn't. And then the movie ends with the Death Machines boarding a plane and flying off to destinations unknown. Probably can be assumed they're still working for the upper boss of the hidden organization that wants to start a giant assassin corps. So that's the story of the movie. It's very, like I said, the genre just kind of jumps all over the place. It's normal action movie. It's got some buddy cop elements, and it has a sappy, not very good love story in it. But what really makes this movie is the action scenes and the death scenes of how the assassins strike the people. The action scenes is very, very fake looking, but still pretty entertaining. But the first assassin, they throw him off a building. And then, shows the mob boss, he's like, what? He got thrown off a building, how'd that happen? And then the second assassin, who was trying to snipe a guy jogging in a park, they kill him with the rocket launcher. Which, total overkill, but hilarious. And then, of course, accused to the mob boss, he's like, what do you mean he blew up? And then the guy that was heading up the mob's assassins, he's in a payphone because he thinks his line's tapped, and the Death Machines run him over with a bulldozer. And then there's the karate school. They get told to go kill this guy who runs a karate school, and they're also told no witnesses. So they go, of course, when the school's being held, they jump through a window and take on 30 karate students and kill all of them, except Steve, of course. And then there's also the fact that apparently they're wearing bulletproof vests, because there's multiple times they get shot in the chest, and they get back up and they're just fine. Until the white guy, he gets caught by the police because he gets shot in the head. But he's just fine afterwards. There's also the scene where he makes his escape from the police station, which I said actually was a really good scene. The only other really notable scene in this movie is there's a banker that the mob wants taken out, and they decide to do it non-violently, sort of, by kidnapping and doing things to his daughter. And then they show him pictures, but he disagrees. So the mook guy for the Asian lady, he handcuffs him to a desk, and then puts a time bomb in this office he's in and leaves. And so that guy gets blown up. All in all, this is definitely a 5. It's a very entertaining movie. The only real slow part is the love story kind of drags a little bit, and Steve is just not a very likable character. But the Death Machines actually are rather likable, even just because they act very much like mind-controlled martial arts death machines. They're never talking. It's really cool. I highly recommend this movie, and again, give it a 5. And stay tuned for next time when we will review something else.